Hello and welcome to the very first ITFC Unrestricted podcast. The day has finally arrived, and to be honest guys, I'd like to thank so many of you for your support in me launching this podcast. It's been quite humbling really to see, a lot of people pulling together and helping me out really. Honestly didn't expect it. The Ipswich Fan Zone days, we had our critics, which I think probably was deserved in fairness at times. But yeah, the whole Ipswich Town social media community, our fantastic fan pages, as well as the other podcast providers, Blue Monday, Joe and Stat specifically, doing their bit to help me out, Martin and Richard at Talk of the Town podcast, the Naked Football Show. They've all done a little bit to help me promote my podcast and get it going. And here we are. I hope you're all keeping well. It's been a really difficult time for many of you, I'm sure. I hope you're getting back to some sort of normality now. I can't imagine how difficult it has been for some of you. It's never nice to have that uncertainty around your life. I'm lucky enough not to have a mortgage or anything to worry about, still living at home. But it can be a really difficult time. But there's been some positive come out of it. We've been able to sort of sit back and think about life a little bit more, what is important to you. And a lot of us taken up new hobbies. Me specifically taking up this podcast. Didn't expect to be doing this at the start of the year. But yeah, a lot of people taking up golf again. I've seen a lot of people taking up running. Cycling's been a big one. I've noticed that a lot. It's taken me a lot longer to get to work. I can't complain. People trying to better themselves and make themselves fitter. I did see something the other day that did make me laugh though. A cyclist on the way to work had a face mask on but no helmet. I mean, by all means, mate, take precautions against the coronavirus. It's obviously you have to wear a mask now. But I mean, a 2-ton bit of metal travelling at 50 mile an hour is probably going to do a little bit more damage than probably the chances of you catching the coronavirus on your bike. I don't know. It's a funny world out there, isn't it? Anyway, let's roll into it. It's been an absolute scorcher this week. Let's see all the hot news off the press out of the world of Ipswich Town. I'm sure there's been some interesting stuff going on. Let's get into it.
News team, assemble!
You're going to have to take these sound effects away from me. I've got loads more of these lined up. Bit different from the Fan Zone days. It's just going to be constant sound effects in the recording studio, aka my front room. So the news I'm going to try and cover Friday to Friday, because I know what's going to happen. As soon as I record this, there's going to be something that breaks and I'm going to miss it. So this will cover last Friday up until Thursday evening. So anything that's happened Friday, Saturday I will have missed. Obviously the games will be covered once we get back into the regular season. So let's roll into the news. What's been happening over the last week at Ipswich Town? So Friday saw the introduction of the League One and League Two salary caps. I've got more on that to come later. So we'll leave that till later on in the podcast. Saturday, Marcus Evans comes out and speaks on the salary cap, saying we are against the introduction of the cap in this format at this stage. It restricts our reinvestment considerably. I think we all knew that was coming, guys, to be honest. Sunday, if you don't know about the Away Days Beer Company, then where the hell have you been? Josh is a town fan who's got his own craft beer company, and he's looking for the latest Ipswich Town Christmas beer. So I believe last year he had one for our favourite Spanish striker, Pablo Cañago. He's also had one for Boncho Guenchev, which I believe was Josh's favourite player. There's been some Alan Brazil ones and Bobby Robson ones there as well. So give Josh a message, give him a follow. He's on all the good places on social media, Instagram, Twitter. Just give him your ideas. I think the Dutch theme's been quite popular. Obviously it's 40 years next year since we won the UEFA Cup, and our two Dutch midfielders, Muren and Tyson, were quite key to that. So I think that's probably where I'd go with it. And I know a few others have put that forward. But yeah, if you've got any other ideas, hit Josh up with them and make sure you give him a follow. It's always good beer. And hopefully you'll see Josh back down at Portman Road when we're all allowed back in the stadium. Monday, it's announced Stephen Ward is training with Ipswich Town, the soon-to-be 35-year-old ex-Republic of Ireland left-back who was recently released by Stoke City. He made 15 appearances for them last season, missed a chunk of the season, around 4 months of an injury just after Christmas. Only made one appearance after Project Restart, Stoke surviving after a tough year. Ward formerly played for Burnley and Wolves under Mick McCarthy at Wolves. So Lee O'Neill came out on Monday saying Stephen is with us for a little while. He's training with us and we'll look at the club and we will look at him. It's nothing more at this stage. We'll see on that later in the week. Some sad news also on Monday. Young striker Ben Morris suffers a second ACL injury. The poor lad, he's only just come off an ACL injury and he's now picked up another one to start this season. He's in the final year of his deal and he missed the entirety of last season, having previously spent a spell on loan at Forest Green Rovers and at Woking. He's only made a brief cameo for the Blues in a 2-2 draw in Paul Hurst's first game. He looks decent, bless him, but yeah, he's had no luck. 2 ACLs is a pretty horrible thing to sustain in your career, especially at such a young age as well. And I do fear this may be it for his time at Town. Obviously, we'll nurse him through his injury and get him rehabilitated, but I can't see us taking that risk of renewing his contract, unfortunately. Tuesday, the first friendly was, I say announced, some detective skills going on in the Ipswich Town community. Found out that we will be playing Spurs on Saturday the 22nd of August at the new Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. And I know a lot of you are gutted because you would have loved to have gone to that fantastic new stadium. Maybe one day we'll get there, hopefully soon. That game will be streamed on Town's iFollow service. So I believe that was £10 to watch that game. So sign up to that if you're interested in that. Wednesday, literally nothing happened Wednesday. Really quiet day on Wednesday. Nothing to talk about. Thursday, however, we got the announcement of Colchester. We got the pre-season friendlies happening there next Tuesday. Or this Tuesday coming, I should say. It's a double header of matches. They're 75-minute games, I believe they're playing. 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. kickoffs for those. And Colchester will be streaming the games for £5. We're getting a little bit of the revenue from that as well. A big day on Thursday. We saw all the fixtures announced. It's a bit like Mitchell and Webb look. All the football all the time. The EFL Carabao Cup and EFL Trophy fixture and the draw dates are announced. So the League One fixtures will be out Friday the 21st of August at 9 a.m. Tam will find out who'll be knocking them out of the Carabao Cup on Tuesday, with games scheduled for Saturday the 5th of September. These may be rearranged due to the international window, and the draw is regionalised, but it's unseeded. So we could get anyone from them lot up the road to, or them lot down the road. Could get Colchester. Could get anyone. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see who's going to knock us out in the first round there. EFL Trophy is back. Oh, we're in this shit again, aren't we? That will begin on the 8th or 9th of September, and it's going to be exactly the same format as last year. So regionalised groups before. I think the knockouts are regionalised up until the semis, I think they are. And then, yeah, obviously going through to the final. Group stage draw to take place Tuesday the 18th of August at 1:30 p.m. on TalkSport 2. Interesting being in that last year. I thought we had a chance of going to Wembley, but I think we've had our one and done run in that, and we should just sack it off this year, let the youth team players play in that, to be honest. So going back, I know transfers have been a lot of people's worry. I'm not seeing a lot of people coming through the door, but there's the wheels are in motion now. Stephen Ward, after a successful trial period, has been offered a deal. I feel it's a good signing, really. We lack a lot of experience at the left back position. The jury's still out on Miles Kenlock. He's 24 now, not really nailed down that first team position. Probably had this season and maybe the back end of last season to do that. Not seen anything really that he's pushing for it. And we've seen some good players come down. I know age has been a concern for many people, with Ward turning 35 later this month. But Glenn Whelan came down to Fleetwood in January last year, and he was a very classy midfielder for them. And he's 36 years old, so age is just a number. As long as he can keep himself fit, that injury doesn't take its toll too much on him. He could be a good signing, even if it's just for a season to keep the seat warm, applying pressure on Kenlock to maybe awaken him, stoke the fire there to get him ready for the first team. But we've got the youngsters coming through, Tommy Smith, Bailey Clemens, and Tristan Nydam is sort of that X factor that we don't really know what he's going to deliver, really. He could be an absolute marvel at left back, or, it may be past just new for him as well. The second person we're believed to be in advanced talks with is David Cornell, goalkeeper, part of Northampton's promotion winning side. He's 29 years old, coming through Swansea's youth system. I don't really see the need for a second goalkeeper. By all accounts, he's a very good goalkeeper. He kept 13 clean sheets last year. But it does leave the question, obviously, with the salary cap. Is goalkeeper really our biggest concern? We've got Shibek and Wright, the young goalkeepers, backing up last year's signing of Thomas Holy. I guess we're looking at that rotation system again, or even just offering competition for Holy. But I don't know. What does this say about Holy? Do the management team have that much faith in him if they're bringing in a goalkeeper probably of equal calibre to him? Time will tell with that, as if we get that one over the line. I know there's been a lot of interest, with Derby County also interested as well. The final transfer news is Ollie Hawkins is also believed to be in talks of town. He's a striker turned defender last season, so he's either going to be Richard Naylor levels or Bill El-Moshney levels. He's 6'5", recently released by Portsmouth. Very much that target man option. Only made 7 appearances last season, and most of them were at centre-back. But 18-19 is where he played mostly as a striker. He scored 7 goals and added 9 assists. Definitely that option we're looking for. Will Keane definitely didn't fill that target man role. Contributed, a few goals here and there, mostly in the other competitions. I think he scored 1 or 2 in the FA Cup and the EFL Trophy, but not really where it mattered in the league. So more the merrier, really. I know that a lot of people aren't happy with probably these 3 coming in, but honestly, guys, with the salary cap, it's going to be these sort of transfers, and I wouldn't write anyone off before they've stepped through the door. We've seen that with James Wilson. Okay, not the most spectacular player last year, but served his role well, and I think these 3, if they get signed, will offer, again, very much the same, exactly what they deliver. The final bit of news from this week is Town had a friendly arranged against Southend for yesterday, as I'm speaking. It'll be tomorrow as I'm speaking, but yesterday as you're hearing this. They postponed the game. They felt they weren't ready for friendlies at this stage as part of their pre-season prep. They only just had their manager take on his position, Mark Mosley, I think it was, from Weymouth. So, we had another game rearranged, which was against West Ham's under-23s, but that was off due to one of the West Ham backroom staff contracting coronavirus after having a positive test result. So we're just having an in-house game. I know Darren McAntony was looking to get us booked for a game against Peterborough, but looks like we're going to have to settle for an in-house game, and we'll see what that brings. Probably just going to be used for fitness, really. But yeah, that summarises the week. Like I said, it'll be Friday to Friday. I'll probably miss something huge. We've probably got all them 3 players now, hopefully. But yeah, it's probably the easiest way I'm going to be able to do it. Saturday is obviously devoted to when we're back playing again. That will always be the big story from Saturday. So yeah, nice bite-sized chunk for you there, guys. So the big news from last week, or the week before I should say, was the announcement of the League One and League Two salary caps. Oh, what an absolute shambles this has been. Completely rushed through, seemingly. Got passed by virtue of one vote, really. And I don't know whether it's just a snap reaction because of what happened this time last year with Bury and Bolton, or whether it's just because of the coronavirus. But it just seems an absolute farce, really, that this has come in. I don't see why a club of Ipswich's size or Sunderland's size should be restricted to spending the money that they quite rightly get in by being a bigger club, by having a bigger revenue. It's ridiculous. It's basically like taking your missus out for a nice fancy dinner, a la carte. You might even splash out on 3 courses. But you're not allowed because all the mates will get jealous, so you have to end up taking them to Frankie Benny's. It's that, it is ridiculous. And it's, the EFL have not put themselves in a good light, really, and over the past 18 months or more. There's so many teams that are struggling. We're in exactly the same boat as we were this time last season, with 2 clubs we don't even know what their future's going to be. That's Charlton and Wigan, who are in the same boat as Bury and Bolton were. And going back to those, you've got Bury, Bolton, Macclesfield, Blackpool. They've all been failed by the EFL. It's ridiculous. A salary cap, yes, it may help short term stop these clubs spending too much in a difficult time, but a salary cap won't prevent clubs being sold and owned by the wrong people. And this might sound like I'm being bitter because we're a club that's going to suffer greatly because of it. But let's look at some of the things that happened with the EFL. Going back to those teams, the whole debacle over Project Restart. They just haven't put themselves in a good light recently, and this is just another case of something that has been rushed through. I've had a real struggle, and I know others probably have, when this was first announced, trying to piece together all the information, because a lot of it's just so airy-fairy, and you know what's going to happen. Someone's going to find a loophole somewhere, and it's going to null and void pretty much the legitimacy of this salary cap. Anyway, so I'm going to summarise basically what the salary cap entails for Ipswich Town. There's been a lot of talk about this recently, so I've tried to culminate all the information that I can from people who have done a lot more research and hard work into this than I have. So that's my sources for this are a mixture of TWTD, Stuart Watson, and a few of the other podcasts. Joe Fairs has done his little bit of research as well. So I'm going to tie it all together. The new flat salary cap will be set at £2.5 million for League One clubs. In the season ahead, any town players under contract prior to the cap will be treated as if they are earning an annual wage of £113,000 per year, significantly higher than previously understood, and then £125,000 per year, which is currently the League One average wage. If they are still under those existing terms in 2021-2022, however, virtually all of the 21 players aged over 21 will be on wages higher than the £113,000 per year, and when totalled, their salaries already exceed £2 million, even without sundries such as agents' fees, bonuses and image rights. It appears Town have not got the greatest amount of room to deal with when trying to bring in new players. I think the initial figure we drew up was 25 grand per week that we could probably spread across 3 or 4 players, but I think with some more calculations that's now more likely to be around the £9,000 per week, which is still not bad. We can work with that. It's just we need to be a little bit more savvy. Also announced with the salary cap, squads will be limited to 22 players aged 21 or over for the upcoming season, reducing to 20 players for the following seasons. The club must deliver their named squads to the EFL at the end of the transfer window. So that would be October the 12th, I think, domestically is when it closes. New Year's Day is the cut-off date for players turning 21. So Flynn Downs and Andre Dazelle, who were 21 in January and May respectively, don't count as senior players for this season. Town currently have 19 players deemed 21 and over who made first-team appearances in the previous season. We also have striker Aaron Drinnan and keeper Harry Wright, who are also over the age of 21 but failed to make any appearances. Town will also need to consider the likes of Luke Chambers, Kaden Jackson, Alan Judge, Emmy Hughes, Gwion Edwards, Freddie Sears, Andre Dazelle, Teddy Bishop, Toto Enciala, James Wilson and Janoy Donatien, who are all now in the final year of their current contracts. They will also need to keep an eye on the future because we have a lot of young players who will be counted as senior pros. So you've got the likes of, as mentioned previously, Flynn Downs, Luke Wolfenden, Andre Dazelle, Barry Cotter, Ben Morris and Ben Falami. A lot of that last little bit is, God forbid, if we're still in League One. And I'll go back to my old mate Andy, who wanted to know in the YouTube comments what the implications of staying in League One are. And basically, we're not just fucked, we're proper fucked if we stay down here any longer. It's going to be a really difficult time for Town. Need to be very savvy in the transfer market. Obviously, we have the names that we mentioned previously, but it's going to be addressing actual needs versus the cost to bring them in. We haven't got the greatest amount of room to move. We all know that Marcus Evans probably isn't going to dip too deep into his very deep pockets. So yeah, I think a lot of people made quite a big faff about Town not bringing anyone in ahead of the salary cap coming in. A lot of sides have made a lot of transfers coming in, and I think that is basically to build squad depth. You know, we've got, I think it was 45 players on pro deals, which is a ridiculous amount of players for a League One club to have, and some of them aren't even anywhere near the first team. You know, there's, like we said in there, Aaron Drinnan, he's probably not had a sniff of first team football with us. He's nowhere near. So I think what the club are probably waiting for is all the details, rather than perhaps shooting themselves in the foot to start off with by getting in a load of players that we didn't know how much they were going to affect the cap. It also brings to light what is going on with Kaden Jackson. We obviously wanted to get his contract sorted beforehand, trying to get him in on that average wage for over a longer contract, as opposed to having to deal with his renewal at the end of next season if we're still here. But he's rejected that contract, and you know, quite rightly, he's had a good year and probably deserves to be playing Championship football, if we're honest. We may find it difficult to move players on as well. We've got the likes of who are going to be, you know, Alan Judge maybe not performed as well as he could have done, but are we going to be able to sell Alan Judge and bring someone in who can contribute in the same way that he has for the money? I think that's going to be a real tough task, and it's going to be a case of seeing players move out before we get anyone signed for a fee. I'd feel players you've got to look at is those ones whose contracts are up. We all don't want to be thinking about an extended League One stay, but judging by last season, it's completely realistic that could happen. We've got to value who, when it comes to dealing with renewals, who is worth giving a contract, paying that money, and who is worth trying to get out the door before that happens. There's players on there. Let's have a look at the list again. So Chambers, you'd probably keep him around, likely to come towards the end of career at Ipswich anyway. Jackson, as mentioned, is probably looking with his new agents at a move to a level above. Judge again, probably could get a good fee for him, but can we get someone of his quality in to replace him? Emmy Hughes, been injury prone, one of the highest earners at the club, I believe. So it's a difficult one. You know, he's obviously got that quality, or at least he did have. Maybe just needs that run of games again to get back up to where he was, and maybe he'll be a real asset for us. But it's tough to say. Do you take that risk and spend all that money renewing his contract? It's a real tough ask for Town. Gwion Edwards, I've been linked away earlier in the week. That's another one. How much do you value him? Lambert has not really, or any manager has played him where he should be playing, at left winger. Do we stick with him, or do we try and get some money for him now and not have to worry about extending his contract if we're still in League One? Freddie Sears is another one. I don't really see much value in there, trying to get rid of him. Also got Andre Dizelle and Teddy Bishop, who are going to be some of the younger players whose contracts are up. And I believe there is such a faff trying to work this all together, and this just goes to show how much of a farce this thing is coming in. I think there's a agreement with any players who are under 24. Once their contract is extended, you only have to pay the amount that was agreed for their increased wages. I believe that's what came in. Then other players, you've got Toto, probably going to be moved on. In all honesty, looks completely out of favour. Had an awful year. And then you've got James Wilson and Donatian, who, for me, I don't see them who have got a lot of value in the transfer market to offer. They're good squad players just to keep around. So you'd probably just keep them, and unfortunately, when their contract's up, unless they can agree something on the cheap, you probably let them go. So yeah, it's really going to be a tough time for Town, because you're going to have one eye, and quite rightly so, trying to get out of this division. We need to get out of it as soon as possible, because you just fear that we're going to be trapped down here if we don't get out at this stage, especially with all these wholesale changes that may come about if we do stay down in League One. But we do have to consider that as an option, and that's what we have to do with our transfers. It's going to be really difficult trying to negotiate contracts on players who have already taken significant pay cuts when they've dropped down into League One with us. So, yeah, really tough, guys. Hopefully that summarises for you nicely in a nice bite-sized chunk. It's still... this may not even go through, and I hope the PFA can do their little bit. They've said it's unlawful and unenforceable, and for me, it is ridiculous that we should have to suffer simply because we're a bigger club and generate more money, as opposed to, I don't want to pick on any sides in particular, but you look at the smaller clubs like your Rochdales and your Wimbledons, who, fair credit to them, they're sticking around in League One, but I don't think they're ever going to threaten, the promotion places at this current stage. And maybe this will help. I can't see how it would, just generally because the bigger clubs have better facilities. We've got a top academy. We just need to see a few more players make that first team berth. So, yeah, it's going to be difficult. But yeah, hopefully I've summarised it for you. And we'll keep an eye on what goes on with the salary cap in the weeks ahead. So yeah, so that's it for the first episode, guys. Thank you very much for listening to me ranting on about the club we all love. If you haven't subscribed on the YouTube channel, or would like the details for the podcast platform, so your Spotify or Apple Podcasts, then that's all available in the description of the YouTube video, or I can give that to you directly. I'm on Twitter and Instagram at rskid26. So yeah, next week we've got the squad review coming up, which will look a little bit more deeper into the players we have got on the books, how they performed last year, what I expect from this year coming, whether they'll still be at the club. May have a few more names to talk about with the three lads that we've been talking to this week. I've also got a season preview coming up, which will be just before the first week of the season. So I was lucky enough last season to be on the League One tour. Still waiting for me refund because didn't get what we were promised, did we? We all thought we were going up, but that didn't happen. So I was lucky enough to see all of our opponents who were in the league last year in person. So I'll talk a little bit more about what they've been up to, what I expect from them, and where Town fit into that. So yeah, thank you very much once again for listening, and have a good week, guys. See you next week.